Welcome to CINERS TV's recap of Hijack Season 1. Let's get you up to speed on everything that went down on Flight KA29 from Dubai to London. The story starts with Sam Nelson, played by Idris Elba. Now, Sam isn't a superhero or a special forces guy. He's a high-stakes corporate negotiator. He's the guy big companies call when they want to merge without stabbing each other in the back. He's heading home to London to win back his ex-wife Marsha, armed with nothing but a fancy necklace and a massive amount of I can fix this energy. Unfortunately for Sam, Marsha has moved on with a detective named Daniel, and Sam's fix-it skills are about to be tested by something way more stressful than a board meeting. About an hour into the flight, the absolute nightmare begins. A group of hijackers, led by a guy named Stuart, pull out guns and take control of the plane. It wasn't a shouting from the rooftops kind of hijacking at first. It was quiet and calculated. Sam immediately goes into negotiator mode. Instead of trying to be John McClane and crawling through vents, he plays a very dangerous game of let's be friends with the hijackers. He actually tells them he's on their side, which, let's be honest, made the other passengers want to throw him out the emergency exit. But Sam's logic was simple. If he could keep the hijackers calm, maybe nobody would get their head blown off. The hijackers weren't exactly a well-oiled machine though. They got into the cockpit because they figured out the pilot, Robin, was having an affair with one of the flight attendants, Colette. They threatened her life, and Robin, being a bit of a romantic, or just panicked, opened the door. But before he gave up control, he did one tiny brilliant thing. He nudged the autopilot dial just enough to send a silent "we have a problem" signal to air traffic control. Back on the ground, we meet Alice, an air traffic controller who is basically the only person paying attention. She sees a weird blip and refuses to let it go. While the higher-ups are busy having meetings about meetings, Alice is convinced Flight KA29 is in trouble. Ultimately, she starts the process, which leads to the British government and police, including Daniel, Sam's ex's new boyfriend, getting involved. Meanwhile, 30,000 feet in the air, things are falling apart. A passenger gets a bit too heroic and stabs one of the younger hijackers, Lewis, with a small knife from a medical kit. It was messy, chaotic, and resulted in a young girl accidentally being shot and killed. This shifted the tone from scary standoff to total disaster. Sam, seeing an opportunity in the chaos, offers to help the dying Lewis. He convinces the hijackers to let him use a phone to call Lewis's mother. But Sam is sneaky. He actually calls Marsha and leaves the line open so the ground crew can hear exactly what's happening on the plane. He's basically live streaming a hijacking through a burner phone. It was brilliant, and it finally gave the authorities the proof they needed. As the flight continues, we find out this isn't a typical terrorist plot. It's actually a massive stock market scam. The cheapside firm, a heavy-duty criminal organization, orchestrated the whole thing. They shorted the airline stock, meaning they bet a ton of money that the stock price would crash. A hijacking is the ultimate way to make a stock price hit rock bottom. They even leaked news of the hijack to the media to speed up the process. Their goal wasn't to land the plane and make demands. The best case scenario for their bank accounts was for the plane to actually crash. The government tried to play ball by releasing two big-time criminals from prison, which was the hijackers' public demand. But one criminal realized he was being followed and ordered the hijackers to kill someone to show they were serious. Sam tricked them into taking a photo of the woman who was already dead, buying everyone a little more time. Then came the mother of all twists. Just when Sam thinks he's got the hijackers figured out, an older woman named Amanda, who had been sitting quietly the whole time, stands up. She puts her hair up in an business ponytail, pulls a gun out of her purse, walks into the cockpit and shoots the pilot dead. My jaw was on the floor. It turns out Amanda was the plan B. She's a former Navy pro and aviation consultant whose daughter was being held hostage by the cheapside firm. Her instructions were simple. If she didn't get a specific text message, she was to crash the plane into central London. The last hour was pure adrenaline. The hijackers lost control because Sam realized most of their guns weren't even loaded. It was all a psychological game. He rallied the passengers, who armed themselves with everything from hairpins to headphone cords. But even with the hijackers subdued, they still had the Amanda problem. She had the cockpit locked and she was ready to go down with the ship to save her kid. Sam, being the professional talker that he is, got through to her via the onboard phone. He didn't yell, he just talked to her as a parent. He convinced her that the criminals would probably kill her daughter anyway and that landing the plane was her only actual shot. While this is happening, the British military is literally seconds away from shooting the plane out of the sky to prevent it from hitting London. The landing was, well, it wasn't as smooth as butter situation. They were almost out of fuel and they had to land on a tiny runway. With Alice from air traffic control whispering in her ear and Sam standing right behind her, Amanda managed to belly flop that massive plane onto the tarmac. It was a metal crunching, spark flying miracle, but everyone actually made it out alive. I thought it was over once the emergency slides deployed, but Sam realized he'd forgotten the necklace he'd bought for Marsha. Classic Sam, always trying to close the deal. He goes back into the empty, smoky cabin only to find Stuart, the lead hijacker, waiting for him with the only loaded gun left. Stuart is broken, his brother Lewis is dead, his mission failed, and he wants to take Sam down with him. But Sam, even with a gun to his head, stays cooler than the underside of a pillow. He uses a distraction with his phone, a timely call from Marsha to get the upper hand just as the armed police swarm the plane. In a great callback to earlier in the season when Stuart mocked him, Sam looks at the captured hijacker and says, "Say cheese," right before they drag Stuart away in cuffs. It was an intense, minute-by-minute look at how quickly a flight can turn into a geopolitical disaster, and it left Sam standing on the tarmac, probably needing a very long nap and a new career path that doesn't involve flying. I hope you enjoyed this quick recap. Feel free to like and subscribe for more CINERS TV.